Hello everybody. So, what am I doing? As you can see, I got my laptop and I'm in a restaurant and I'm having a meal at the same time. This is what being an entrepreneur is really all about. Like, you never have time off. I have so much free time. Say not entrepreneur ever. So essentially what's happened is I was invited, me and a good friend of mine were invited to speak at an international law firm about storytelling and branding and how lawyers can essentially use storytelling as a way of enhancing their personal brand. So we've been working on this presentation for a while because it's a really massive speaking gig for us, and I'm trying to get into the whole public speaking thing. So we've had a really busy day at work. We still have jobs, number of jobs. And in the evening we still have to catch up with that. So we're basically at the restaurant and going through our final presentation for tomorrow and having dinner at the same time. And I just want to introduce a friend of mine, Jill. Jill, say hi.
Hi everyone.
There we go. Yeah, so basically stay tuned. So tomorrow you're going to see the clips to the presentation and we'll keep you posted on how that goes. Cool, see you tomorrow. Hi everybody, so we are just about to do our presentation. Really nervous but excited at the same time, and wish us luck. So you'll see the end result after we've shot this. How are you feeling, Jill?
Feeling good, Simon.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Fantastic, great. So everybody, first of all, I'd like to really thank you guys for being here. I know that you're absolutely really busy professionals, so I really appreciate the opportunity for you to invite us to speak, and I'm really grateful for that. So by way of introduction, my name is Simon Tefula, and so today I'm essentially going to be talking about how you guys can use storytelling to enhance your personal brand. And I'll talk about what personal branding is. I'll talk about what storytelling really is, and I'll give you some extra some stories about how you can essentially build your personal brand using storytelling. And then Jill will come in and she'll then tell her story and how she's sort of got to where she has today as well. So I'll start off with where I was born. So I was born in Uganda. I'm the first of 5 kids. As you can see, I was always quite stylish. I was always quite into fashion from a very young age, right? Right, so we're going to get into what is a personal brand. Essentially, a personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. It's that one phrase, that catchphrase they use when you're not in the room. The annoying one, the one that's always hungry, the lazy one, the drama queen. It's that it's that phrase they use to refer to you when you're not actually there. I went to Aston University to do a master's in HR and business studies. Now in 2009, but when time came for me to write a dissertation, I actually wrote about how companies could use social media tools to create engagement. And a lot of people were saying to me, hey, why are you wasting your time writing about something that is not academic? Come on, write something more academic, right? But a couple of years later, everyone is now every company now has a Twitter page, a Facebook page, and everyone is talking about. So this is where sort of my interest around kind of social media kind of really began. The first thing that you really want to do as a professional is really become really good at something. Cultivate a skill. Figure out something that you're really, really good at. And, and of course, the law firm encourages that. You guys have, tax lawyers, those that work in marketing, those work in, HR. You specialize in something. The other thing I was going to say is there's nothing wrong with being a bit of a jack or a Jill of all trades. When Jill and I first met, when I asked her what her name was, she said her name was Jill of all trades. And I was like, oh, my name is actually Jack of all trades. Because I actually do quite a lot of things. So, and I'm actually I'm in the process of writing an article right now about why I'm proud of being a jack of all trades. Think about this. In the 21st century, there's a philosopher that's actually said that those that will thrive in the 21st century are those that have the ability to learn and relearn. Essentially, it's the same thing that Charles Darwin once said, which is, it's not the strongest of species that survive the longest, but those that can adapt to change. So in the process, of developing our own careers, in the process of developing our startups, we essentially have to learn a bunch of different skill sets as we go along. And then you find yourself after, a few years, you've got all these different skill sets that you can actually pull together of course, it's always really good to be very good at a specific skill, but there's nothing wrong with being a bit of a jack of all trades. So if you haven't quite figured out what it is that you're really good at, essentially you'll get there in the end. So I decided to put on a date auction night. So essentially I got 5 girls and 5 guys and auctioned them off to go on a date for at least an hour. I organized the event in about 3 days, and we raised about £768 in about 3 days. At the auction, I think we raised about £500 at the auction, but then, we then sold vouchers and other things and kind of just made it up. But yeah, so when I meet people that I haven't seen in ages from uni, they always say, I still remember that event you did. I still remember that event you ran because it was so much fun. There was nobody has ever done anything like that. So yeah, if you create an event and bring people together, people will always remember you for that. Finally, tell your story. I mean, this is incredibly important. The thing about storytelling is that it's the most naturally intuitive way for us as human beings to process and digest information. People don't realize this because it's such a very simple concept, but actually scientists have actually proven that it's the best way for people to retain information. And here's what's really interesting. When you think about Christianity, when you think about Jesus, those of you that are Christians in the room, each and every single time that he was asked a question, he always answered by telling a story. Because he knew that the best way for people to retain that message, that information, was to tell a story. There's a vast, there's people that work in finance or accounting or the startup world. Company valuations is a huge topic. And essentially, when you're buying shares in a company, in a public listed company, there's always, a figure for how much the shares cost. But what's really interesting is that, the numbers are just numbers, but it's the story behind the numbers. There's a saying in finance that it's the story that gives soul to a company's valuation. Essentially, you're looking at, who are the founders of this company? What's the history of this company? Where is it right now? Where is it going to go? And how can people essentially, how do you see it evolving in the future? The other thing I was going to say, in terms of your workplace, and this is something we do in the startup world, we tell our own stories, but we also do something called user stories. So user stories essentially, you paint a picture of your ideal client and what they would normally go through. So Jane has just lost her husband, but she's never written a will, and she would need some help on how to blah, blah, blah. So that's a user story. Figure out who your ideal client is and then tell your story. That's a really good way for you guys to actually sell your services to clients, by telling a user story. So just before I finish, I think it's incredibly important to share your stories for a number of different reasons. I think for me personally, one of the things that I've learned is that lots of people are really scared of sharing their own stories because we don't feel like we're the finished article yet. I'm not by no means, and I'm not the finished article. And we all have like a goal in life. We all have a milestone, an objective we sort of want to hit. And we feel like, okay, until I hit that, I'm not going to tell anybody what I'm really doing. But actually, it's the best time to actually do that. I'm and I created that vlog, and I share the stories. I share my journey of how I go to sort of meetings, how I pitch, how I pitch to startups and how I pitch to investors, and I put that on Facebook. And eventually, people started getting in touch, and people I'd gone to school with, worked with, and just by sharing my story, that's how I was actually able to secure investment, get clients, and I've secured partnerships as well. So. This is why behind the scenes, when you watch movies, this is why behind the scenes is really, really popular, because essentially it really involves telling your story. So I'd really encourage you guys to think about how you can create a narrative around the services you offer your clients, how you can sort of, put that in storytelling format. I'd like to end off by this quote. So, tell me a fact and I remember, tell me the truth and I'll believe, but if you tell me a story, it will live in my heart forever. And that essentially shows you the power of storytelling in terms of the emotional connotation that it has. Thank you so much for your time. Hello everybody, so we've just finished our talk and at the law firm about storytelling and how storytelling can help improve your personal brand. I'm really excited. We were really nervous in the beginning, but we've done it. How do you think it went?
Yeah, it went well. We were a really responsive, engaged group of women, and I think speaking to your kind of prescriptive overview and then a little bit more of a practical example was really helpful.
I'm looking forward to doing more and more of this because I never really realized that there's lots of people out there that want to hear a message. So here's the key takeaway. If you have a message, if you have a story specifically, tell your story, share your story. There's people like international lawyers that work in London that would love to hear your story, however mundane you think it might be. So go on, what are you waiting for? Get started, get going, let's do this. Alright, see you soon, bye.